Hello, this is Sarilee Norton, and I'm here to give you a preview of a just-released RISI special study I authored. The report is the second volume of a two-part study of the containerboard and containerboard converting businesses. This is the first in-depth work I know of that is focused on the converting side of the business. It contains a lot of data, some familiar, some probably not, as well as analysis and interpretation of statistics and trends that drive this business. For shipments, it's been a rocky road. They grew steadily between 1983 and 1999. In 2001, volume dropped by more than 5% and struggled for the next 6 years to regain momentum. The Great Recession had a striking impact on box demand. So while the economy began to recover, boxes seemed to lag. So what has turned our business around? In our view, three factors, one notably more impactful than the other two. The economy. Since 2012, the economy has shown a general strengthening trend with a few stumbles in 2015 and 16. The Purchasing Managers Index reached its highest level since 2003 in the third and fourth quarters of 2017. And the reversing of the offshoring trend, that tidal wave of offshoring that underpinned many of the manufacturing decisions in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Well, the tide has turned. Many have found that offshoring is not worth the costs, the risks, and the strategic impacts that had previously been ignored. And the number one factor, sector and sales channel changes, notably the impact of e-commerce. This chart compares the end-use mix for boxes in 2010, 15, and 16. The upper section shows the manufacturing subcategories, and lower section shows the 5 categories that are most commonly users of corrugated boxes. The orange bars are where e-commerce is counted. Small for now, but rapidly growing. Some other observations about major categories. The manufacturing category has declined noticeably since 2010, reflecting the shift from brick and mortar to e-commerce sales channels. The agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting category, which includes fresh produce, has grown 40%, or 2.3 percentage points, from its position in 2010. The number of independents is shrinking. The FBA no longer defines companies as integrated or independent, but compares companies with and without an equity stake in a mill. The percentage of companies without an equity position has been reduced each of the last 4 years. In 2014, 15, 16, and 17, the consumption by companies without was 12.4, 12.3, 12.2, and 11.9% respectively. Are we experiencing a feeding frenzy? Well, it certainly seems that way to some. Pulp and Paper Week counted 13 independents acquired in 2017 and 5 through mid-March 2018. And yes, the number of box facilities is also declining, from 1,472 in 2000 to 1,155 in 2016, and maybe 10 more shut in 2017. That's a loss of more than 1 out of every 5 facilities in 18 years. The study includes a chart that details independent converter merger and acquisition activity since 2011. A lot of information there. The chart models the value chain from mill to consumer. This is a complex business that defies most efforts to generalize about it. Each of the topics you see headlined in this chart is followed by detail in the study about how that section or subsection works. The maps. The information provided on the maps, and there are about 20 of them, is from the FBA Directory of Corrugated Plants, August 2017, updated through April 2018. Approximately 1,300 listed locations are there for the U.S. and Canada. They include full-line corrugating, sheet feeders, and sheet plants by integrated company, and independent company corrugating locations. This chart shows the New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia corridor as it was in 2012 and as it is today. Industry veterans have told us that e-commerce may be the best thing that's happened to boxes since fruits and vegetables converted from wood crates to corrugated. And the industry didn't have to convince e-tailers that boxes, lots of boxes, were what they needed. It is difficult to track the impact by the numbers, but anecdotally, we know that for companies supplying boxes to this segment, it is a big, big deal. At least one estimate suggests that 12% of retail sales are now transacted through the internet. How big? There are lots of snippets of data out there, but nothing you can really hang your hat on. Our best advice: use the information that fits your business and makes sense to you. A key statistic for box makers would be some measure of box use versus value in dollars or units for a particular segment. So where do you want to be as a box supplier for e-commerce? The traditionalist tends to focus on the strength to weight improvements, durability, consistency, and price. Lighter weight options may be desirable, but not at the risk of box failures, especially for higher value products. The traditionalists generally believe that for transporters, it is still about encapsulating, stabilizing, and protecting the product inside for the least cost through the supply chain. Then there are the progressives, who focus more on innovative materials and structure, space-efficient packaging, and aesthetic features that enhance the unbox experience. You know, when you open the box, what do you see? They use clever designs, striking color, and graphics that utilize the package's surfaces, both inside and out, to define and market their brand. The e-commerce distribution model has had a very positive influence on box demand, since products need to be contained and protected until they reach the final purchaser rather than the retailer. For the future, it will depend on how products are shipped and received. There are a lot of possibilities, some more box intensive than others. Suppliers will be looking hard at the cost-benefit trade-offs and how these are measured. For box makers, they need to stay ahead of the normal packaging life cycle. Some ideas become trends, some become keepers. Sustainability is still a very hot issue, even if some in the industry feel it's less important to customers than it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. If you're selling to consumers, you're hearing about your packaging and its impact on the environment. Millennials live, think, and buy differently than their parents and grandparents. So what are we going to do about all the boxes delivered to homes? The single-stream collection system in use by many municipalities isn't working well. Recovery rates will continue to decline unless we find a better way. Single-stream curbside recycling is a losing proposition, according to the Wall Street Journal. Quote, "Many trash haulers and city agencies that paid for curbside collection by selling scrap say they are now losing money on almost every ton they handle." That from the Journal on May 12, 2018. The economics still have to work. Basis weights. Linerboard basis weights continue to decline. Medium basis weights are declining as well, but at a slower rate. The average box weights, however, are hardly declining. So we have the basis weight conundrum. If linerboard and medium basis weights are declining, why not box basis weights? Well, this is likely influenced by several factors, some of which are hard to measure. One that we can measure are the weights of linerboard and medium in the structure. As we can see in the chart in the lower right, medium has become a bigger factor in the combination by weight. So these shifts and combinations can result in a heavier box because of the relative weights of the components. Remember, medium has cost significantly less than linerboard over the past several years and represents a way to save some money. So what have we learned about what customers think? Well, conventional wisdom is that they want the most for least. That's not what we have found. They want the most value for what they pay. Sustainability, it's still a critical issue for customers because their customers are asking about it. Innovation and technologies, customers expect us to bring the new ideas to them just as we look to our suppliers for new technology and processes. A collaborative approach to solving customer problems. Don't become complacent because times are good. The supply-demand balances may not always be in your favor. What do we think? About consolidation, hold on to your best customers and your best suppliers. You will need them. China, will it substantially change the way North America does business? Well, China is the one to watch. By 2030, their GDP will surpass every other country, including the US. And we know from what is happening with their policy on importing our waste, they really can swing the pendulum. And finally, the converting business. Is it going to be better, worse, or about the same? We see no reasons why good times shouldn't continue, but e-commerce requirements will evolve, and corrugated supplies need to stay in front of fulfillment trends. I hope this presentation encourages you to purchase the study. It really is a wealth of information, and I've barely been able to touch on many of the topics. Charts, graphs, exhibits, analysis, and historical perspective that you probably don't have the time to develop on your own. Now, if you have any questions or comments, contact your RISI sales rep or email me directly at SarileeNorton@gmail.com. That's SARILEENORTON @gmail. And thank you very much for listening.